1, we're going to get started with today's planning board meeting. We do have a short agenda, but the size of the crowd, it looks like it's going to be action-packed. Our little items that we do have joined today by our other planning board members, Martin Hall and Rachel Bresser, and we do have quorum, 3 of 5, greater than 50%. So we can transact business, even though there are no real determinations and decisions for us to make today. So again, welcome everybody. We will get through our 2 agenda items and then hear our comments with those and adjourn, and it'll still be daylight out when we get out today, which is often not a thing for us. So quite excited. Staff, we ready? Zoom's going, camera's on, sound is on. When folks come up here to present, I need you to project and use your outside voice because our microphone system is down, but we can still conduct the meeting today and move forward. So our first project is One United Way, part of our public hearing on conditional use permit 0076. We're looking to occupancy of an existing building at the property, and is controlled by substance dispensary. Address. This One United Way is the address. Sorry about that. Would our presenter, our applicant, please come forward? So 13,170 square feet, single-story building located at the site for use for controlled substance dispensary. Floor is yours.
So good evening to everyone. I will use my outside voice so that everyone can hear me, even those that are seated behind me. My name is Dr. David Collymore. I have the pleasure of serving as the Chief Medical Officer of the Acacia Network, of which Promessa Inc. is an affiliate of our organization. And I'm joined with my colleague. I'll let him introduce himself.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Jesus Pedrosa Jr. I am the Senior Vice President for the Acacia Network for Facilities Management Capital Projects.
So thank you for the opportunity to talk with you and to present to you. So Promessa Inc. is a multifaceted organization that provides healthcare, housing, and economic development resources throughout New York State. One of our specialties is serving individuals that are in treatment for substance use disorder. The opioid epidemic has ravaged, at this point, every community within our nation. It's affected every family. I think at this point, everyone knows someone, or at least of someone, that has suffered and battled with substance use disorder, from the White House to the suburbs to every city, every urban environment. I don't think any corner of our nation has been spared at this point. These individuals are our brothers, they're our sisters, they're our cousins, our parents, our children, friends, and extended family. As per the CDC, in 2022, there were 46 million individuals in our nation, ages 12 and up, that have a documented substance use disorder. That represents close to 20% of our population. And that likely is an underestimation of the magnitude of the problem. I'm sure I'm preaching to the choir. Many of you have seen the stats, over 100,000 overdose deaths per year annually for each of the last 5+ years. The most recent provisional data by CDC does offer some encouraging statistics in terms of a decrease in that trend, but we still have a problem of epidemic and epic proportions. So there's an urgent need for healthcare providers to address and treat these individuals. There's an urgent need from medical education to hospitals to every single doctor's office being prepared and able to treat individuals that are suffering from opioid use disorder and other forms of substance use disorder. So we operate 6 outpatient treatment programs throughout New York State, 2 in the Bronx, 1 in Brooklyn, 1 in Buffalo, 1 in Dunkirk, New York, and 1 here in Albany. So the project that we are presenting to you today is to relocate our Albany program to One United Way. It's an opportunity that offers us the ability to manage the flow of patients and traffic to and from the healthcare facility, as well as to maintain the dignity and respect with which we treat these individuals. So that's the idea of what we're doing. In addition to the substance use disorder services, we also have an outpatient mental health program within this facility. Mental health disorders as well have affected a significant percentage of the population of our nation. So the need is there. Every community needs these services, and it's our goal and our intention and has been our mission for greater than 50 years to continue to provide these services to individuals with dignity, with respect, to educate communities, to remove stigma, and to transform lives and families. The work that we do has generational impact. We've seen it, the data has proven it. So we are here to continue to provide these services to communities that need to access these services. I know we have several slides here, some visuals of the actual property itself. I'm not a facilities expert, but they're there for your perusing, and if there are any questions, they're there for you to question and to comment on. Or I'm joined here with several colleagues from my team. We have Dr. Daniel Rosa, our Senior Medical Director, Nikki Jimenez, one of our administrators. We have Scott, I always forget his last name, our security, Gabby, okay, our security supervisor for Albany. He is a retired, I have a friend that is a retired NYPD. He says, you never retire. You're always a law enforcement agent. But we've invested significantly in making sure that our facility is secure. And this potential property offers us the opportunity to really secure the space, to direct traffic and flow, and to provide a much needed service to the patients that we serve. There's a opportunity for questions.
So members of the board, do you want to ask questions of the applicant now, or do we want to hear from the comments before we get to the question?
So it'd be good to do it afterwards, so we have a full.
I was thinking maybe hear from folks first and then see if our questions get addressed.
Yep.
I have a small one before you all. Sure. What's the difference in the size of the current operation versus what you're proposing?
The current space at One United Way is, as you mentioned earlier, is 13,000 square feet. The Camino Nuevo program will take about half of that space, a little bit over 6,000 square feet. And that's comparable to the space that we have now on Central Ave. And what will the other half of the space be used for? We are looking to put the CCDH. You have another program there, and there's a possibility of a future project for an OMH program there.
And just to provide further clarity, so CCBHC is Certified Community Behavioral Health Program. It provides services to individuals with mental illness, so psychiatry, social work, heavy emphasis on peer interventions, crisis management, and stabilization.
That's all from me.
That's it.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Do you stay here?
No, if you would step up.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Right, first on our public comment list. Before we do that, I do want to acknowledge anyone that has taken the time to write out documentation and submit for the record that is in our files, and read that. As I indicated at the beginning for this project, there's not a decision night on this project, but it's always good for folks to have submissions in writing so that we can go back and forth and read them and refresh ourselves. As most projects usually take multiple meetings, which ends up being multiple months for us to get through. So for today's public comment, Jennifer, you are first. Are you here? Ask that you state your name and address for the record, and note that for this section of the comments, it's 3 minutes per commenter. We ask that you not repeat if someone else has said something that is similar. Say I did, and you know, if you are an elected official, you actually have 6 minutes as you represent a broader swath of the community. So with that being said, we're welcoming our public comments. First one with Jennifer.
So my name is Jennifer Tino, and I'm a business owner at 1 Pine West Plaza. Do you need my personal address too, or is
No,
that
one
sufficient?
Pine West Plaza is
Yep.
fine. That's the next space.
So I just wanted to express my concerns regarding this application, because I took the time to actually review the application and look at it from the perspective of a neighboring property. And I just wanted to comment about some of the parts. And so, you know, part 4A, you know, described by the proposed location was chosen. And I really do believe that there's no good place for this, but the right place would be near a facility that could support patients and clients as needed, perhaps a hospital or a police station. I also do believe that this place was chosen because there's no actual voters who could protest this entity, as well as placing it in a suburban area, which creates a lot of distinction from most facilities being in a city area. So 4B, how it's proposed to be consistent with the existing property development, there is nothing consistent about this facility. This is not an area with appropriate oversight, visibility, or safety for this project. 5B described the impacts of the proposed conditional use will have on adjacent properties, and my feelings are there's likely going to be loitering. A lot of these properties are non-smoking locations. Therefore, people are pushed off of that actual property due to the non-smoking commitments of their property, which pushes them into adjacent properties. This is already a current problem at their existing location. So disruption of business activity that's ongoing, perhaps safety issues to the businesses and customers. And our conversation with Camino in the past, there was no plan in place about what they would do to avoid loitering onto our property, which is immediately adjacent. And it was just that it won't be a problem. So I think that they need to work to contain their patients in their building until they depart, and have escorts if they're going to be taking the bus, so that there is not a loitering issue. Again, 5F, regarding infrastructure or service improvements, United Way Road, per the legislator Frank Camizzo, was never built with a proper base, and it often needs massive repairs. I mean, there were potholes that were beyond the size of something that could create tire damage for people, and that's just from the rain and the normal usage, which is actually quite low right now. So the volume of patients quoted, we were told, was 300 to 400 people per day. And if you were to assume that half of those people will ingress and egress by their own vehicle or Medicare, that's 400 passes a day. So the current volume will just damage the road further, and there's no plan. The city, unfortunately, is not swift in their response to managing that road to begin with. So there's quite a bit of infrastructure damage. For 7A, the proposed use.
Just wanted to mark that you could get 3 minutes.
Okay, so elevated need for police and fire. I do think there will be elevated need for police, and right now they don't have but one police car that patrols a very large area, and they have no plans to increase the services because the Albany police is understaffed. And I also just wanted to comment that there's never been a seeker study for the state environmental assessments for this area, so I do think there will be a public safety impact.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Next, Kendra.
Hi, I'm Kendra Zappia. I also have a small business at 1 Pine West Plaza. That's very factual, good junction. I'm here to respectfully request the special use permit not be granted to Camino Nuevo for the Washington Ave location. Their services and missions sound great. Their execution and social awareness is lacking. I do not want to be accused of stereotyping, so I will share with you that I have an immediate family member who has addiction issues. We are all for people receiving the proper treatment they need in the right setting. I've seen the treatment process, relapse, violent behavior when high and coming down, theft and deception of this loved one towards myself and innocent bystanders. The quiet professional park of Pine West Plaza is not the right location for Camino Nuevo. They have a poor reputation on Central Ave as well as within the recovery community, which is why the mayor was pressured to relocate the clinic. Small businesses were driven out or went under. Children and patients were harassed by drug dealers, prostitutes, and crime. At the Albany County Legislature meeting, the surrounding community pleaded for Camino Nuevo to be relocated, and rightfully so. It clearly isn't working. So let's just relocate it to another small business and children and elderly in a remote location with no police presence. How does this make sense? I've interviewed former patients, people who oversee the recovery community, and the Albany Police Department, and they all agree this is not the proper setting. If Camino Nuevo is so great and unobtrusive, why not place it to the mayor's office? Would you like it next to your home or your small business? I've been at my location for 15 years. My team members, patients, and I like it because it's a quiet and safe community. If Camino Nuevo comes, I'm very concerned about the safety and logistics of the location. Roads and parking lots that are failing and flood often. I'm concerned about the traffic pattern and infrastructure about holding all these extra patients. There's a children's learning center within a baseball throwaway, a credit union, small professional businesses. My responsibility to my patients and employees is to keep them safe, and relocating us would cost me $750,000. Who is going to help me pay for this? Call me naive, but I was taught to believe in the political and judicial process. Through speaking with people in the legislature, mayor's office, police department, I was told this project is already a done deal, and this meeting is just a formality. People have already been hired for this new location. The bus line's already been extended. The building was purchased for $300,000 less than another offer, and the relocation was pushed by the mayor. Do not be a part of this poorly thought out plan that will bring our productive and quiet community down. In voting to approve this permit to allow Camino Nuevo to function at this location, you are basically saying, I do not care about the safety of other children, elderly, and small businesses who reside here. I don't care that we're going to put small businesses under and drive them out of the area. You are moving one problem from one location to another. That's very disappointing. If this does pass as the mayor has pushed for, then I would request that Camino Nuevo would be responsible for security guards, not only for their building, but for our buildings, to walk employees and their patrons to and from their cars, exterior lighting in all parking lots, blue emergency call boxes and lights, security cameras for all surrounding buildings, the roadways and parking lots to be maintained, an employee to monitor and walk Camino Nuevo's patients coming and going to Medicab's cars, buses, and ensure that their patients do not enter the surrounding buildings, and an employee to pick up any litter in the surrounding parking lots and walkways, sharps containers by their building. But even better than that, I request that you deny the conditional use permit. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Heather?
Oh, those are tough acts to follow. I won't repeat what you said. My name is Heather Kimura. I represent St. Peter's. I am the sleep center and the durable medical equipment at One Pine West Plaza. The Times Union posted that the clinic was the root cause of increased crime, traffic problems, and theft from businesses. My organization operates 24/7 in that location. We've occasionally already had problems with people loitering in our vestibules, our waiting areas, and our hallways. I'm very concerned for the safety of my patients. My patients start at age 2 months and they go to 90. They are not equipped to defend themselves in the event that there was a confrontation in the parking lot, the hallway, the vestibule. 60% of the clinic's patients, our clients, live outside of Albany. 85% live outside the city, according to the documentation. And there's currently the bus route is 1.5 miles away with no place for these clients to eat, rest, relax within 1.5 miles, which means they're going to be looking for place, particularly in the winter time. We have a lot of snow. And to the other speaker's point, the roads in that particular area are in terrible shape. And we have, reduced traffic in those areas currently. I'd like to know how they plan to prevent crime and violence in that area. They did note that they will have security to secure the building and secure their site. They mentioned nothing about the community around that site, how they would protect the rest of us. Again, we operate 24 hours a day, and my understanding from the previous meeting is that there's a part-time security guard, and I think Scott, what's his name? I'm not questioning his skills or skill sets, but obviously he will be on that site. He's not going to help me 500 feet away, or my patient that's 500 feet away. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Joseph?
My name is Joe Wiley. I'm the CEO of Next Step Federal Credit Union. We're located at 325 Washington Avenue Extension. And my credit union is located directly across the street from the post clinic. There continues to be fierce opposition to the move by surrounding businesses and general concern for the safety of employees and members of the public who frequent the businesses located near the United Way site. A meeting attended by a representative from the city and several from the police department did little to calm these fears. It seems that the city's approach is just to get the clinic moved and hope for the best at a new location. This is not a plan that reassures surrounding businesses that the problems at the Central Avenue location will not be repeated in the Pine Bush. During a meeting on March the 5th, a representative from the clinic indicated that only about 15 to 20% of the clients of the clinic reside in the city of Albany. The vast majority come from communities outside the city. Clearly, the city of Albany is doing its part by already hosting a methadone clinic on DeWitt Street in downtown Albany. Now is the time for surrounding communities to step up and provide an alternative rather than just relocating Camino Nuevo to another part of the city. I recently paid a visit to the Capital Region Health Park in Latham, New York, and I counted there are over 21 empty medical offices in those two buildings. This type of setting is vastly superior to the location in the Pine Bush in terms of highway access, ample parking, and is set in secure surroundings that are easy to patrol and less subject to the issues that the clinic faces in its current location. This is the type of setting that makes far more sense than the small business area that surrounds One United Way. From the meeting on March the 5th, it is clear that drug addiction and method used to treat it are not just a city of Albany problem. It's a problem that affects many populations, both urban and suburban. This problem requires bold leadership from all elected officials in the Capital District. They should not resort to pitting one business district in the city against another. A mistake was made the first time when the clinic was allowed to move into 175 Central Place. Let's not make the same mistake by allowing it to operate out of One United Way. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Stephanie?
Good evening, Chairman. My name is Stephanie Vitter. I'm an attorney with Bartlett Pond Stewart Rhodes. I represent Teal Becker, who is the immediate adjacent neighbor at 7 Washington Square, and would request an extended amount of time due to the representation that I'm here for. Teal Becker is a business that actually owns the building. They've been in that location for over 10 years and have been a pillar of this community for over 50 years. Their voice of opposition is not new today. They have continuing to voice their opposition since they learned this relocation plan. You folks have the responsibility to weigh the conditional use permit request. This is a request. This is not a permit that is given to them by right. And this is not a proper use for this location. And we request that you carefully consider this and you deny this application. This request will devastate Washington Square and this plaza and the businesses that surround it. As they mentioned, this is not a new use for the city of Albany. This is a relocation of a current use. And the current problems and the current impacts of those neighboring businesses will only be relocated to Washington Square. That's not fears. Those are facts. That's actual data. In reviewing this application, you have to consider that when you consider whether or not this conditional use permit is consistent with the neighborhood that it wants to move into. It's not consistent. It vastly contrasts with the businesses that are there. The applicant claims that this location is suitable because of its access to roadways, the vicinity to healthcare, the low density. Other speakers have also already mentioned the roadways. As we know, St. Pete's and Albany Med are over in this vicinity. They're not uptown. The police station is also not uptown. It's right over here. It's a 15-minute distance to this location. Low density in the residential area is not the problem at the Central Avenue location. The problem at the Central Avenue location is this use. And if they're not going to address the problems, this problem is just going to relocate from downtown to uptown. We disagree with their claims that this would be consistent with the Washington Square uses. Washington Square is a suburban commercial setting. Its use does not require a high police presence as to the Central Avenue use currently does. There is no presentation with this application as to how they are going to secure the inside of their facility together with the outside and how that is going to impact the surrounding businesses. As I mentioned before, the police are 15 minutes away. Their site plan, which I didn't notice on your slide, refers to this use as a proposed crisis stabilization center. There's a law enforcement entry. There's a closed off room, which we believe may be a holding cell. None of the surrounding businesses maintain similar security features, nor is this a criminal activity area or high criminal activity area that they're currently experiencing. Not only does the applicant fail to recognize these existing impacts, they fail to recognize how they're going to mitigate them at the Washington Square location.
I wanna know the G-Figure 3,
Can I get an extended 3, please?
if it's okay with the board. Rachel, I'm okay.
Thank you. I appreciate that. They have identified that the location is suitable and it provides the best access for its clients. There's no sidewalks at this location. CDTA has submitted a letter indicating that they will accommodate them by adding to their existing routes. The letter suggests that it's one of their most popular neighborhood routes. This runs through SUNY Albany. That route assists the students from going uptown and downtown. Consider that. The BR2 route is supposed to be one of the quick and most efficient routes to the city of Albany's commuters. This extension will obviously impair that efficiencies. In reviewing this, you have to be concerned not only of the applicant's client's needs, but the needs of the community and the impacts this conditional use will have. The traffic. There's nothing in this packet that they've submitted that identify how they're going to mitigate traffic. But there is implications that this facility is going to service over 100 clients a day. That obviously will impact traffic with both the CDTA route as well as the interior traffic within Washington Square. This will be a drastic volume increase. And in fact, they mentioned it'll be a double facility than what they're operating at Central Avenue. This will impair the safe, quiet enjoyment of Washington Square. It'll increase volume of police. 80 vacant storefronts exist at Central Avenue right now with the response of this facility. The applicant fails on its face with the actual evidence and the existing negative impacts that are highlighted in all the articles that we're going to submit for you today. You should force the applicant to respond to those and how they're going to solve those problems. It's not consistent with the city code. It's actually a public nuisance as it exists today. It's better suited in the industrial area. There is no solution to solve these adverse impacts other than to relocate them from Central Avenue. That would be a relocation of the problem from downtown to uptown. We have a letter in here from Howard Carr, who is a reputable real estate agent, that says that this is going to devastate the real estate values of Washington Square. That will be submitted for your review. Not consistent with the character of the neighborhood. To place this use in Washington Square would set off yet another bomb in the city of Albany. And that was the quote from one of their neighbors on Central Avenue. It would be from day to night. That is not consistent. That is not a cooperative use in a neighborhood. Currently, on the Washington Square, there's no criminal activity. There's no needles littering the parking lot. There's no heightened security. There's no need for those things. But what there is right now is there's going to be harmful effects if you approve this application. The real estate, the businesses, the safety of the clients and employees of these businesses. You may have a solution to relocating this use, but you may have many businesses exiting.
We certainly appreciate it. You said you had it in writing. We
Yes.
will accept it. We've made closing argument, maybe double time.
Thank
so
you.
we're
I
gonna
appreciate
move
that,
on to the
Chairman.
next comment.
I appreciate it.
Kathleen?
My name is Catherine Schwartzbeck. I am the business owner at 1A Pine West Plaza of Southern Learning Center of Albany and Clifton Park, and I live directly at this building every day. I agree that what they do is important work. I agree that there's a need. I don't agree that this is the right place for it. I've confirmed that I will have to move if it goes in there for my franchisor. I can't support it. My families will not support it. My families will not stay. And I will incur the cost of moving. You've heard the fears that people have. There's a perception issue right now, and it will hurt the community that they're in. It will help one group, but it will hurt the community of Pine West Plaza. I put this all in writing for you. You have it in there to read, but I cannot support this.
Thank you. If the applicant would come back so that we could have any questions from board members. I already asked mine, if anybody else has.
There are a couple. We've heard a couple of different numbers for the number of people that would likely be using the facility every day. How many is did you see?
Well, the current census of the program in its current state is 400 individuals. They do not all come daily. Those that are stable have extended privileges and do not come daily. So the foot traffic will be far less than that.
Okay, and daily would be about
Daily numbers, I would say
100.
100. Yeah.
100.
and what would your hours be?
The dispensing hours for the dispensary and substance use treatment is multifaceted and multi-pronged. So the methadone dispensary is a portion of what we do. There are also individuals that come for outpatient care and are not necessarily being treated with methadone itself. The methadone dispensing hours are from 6:30 a.m. until 2:30 p.m. We came from there to drive here, and if you were to drive by, anytime after 2:30 p.m., there is little to no traffic or activity from those clients. The hours after that, the mental health program that we do have may extend until 6 p.m. Those individuals that are coming in for scheduled visits. It would be just as any doctor's office. There wouldn't be any crowds of individuals coming after 2:30 p.m.
Regarding sorry, are you done, Maureen?
Yes.
The number of folks, so you said the current census is 400, expected foot traffic is 100 to 125 a day. You also mentioned that the current plans are for about 6,000 square feet and with the possibility to expand to offer mental health services. Do you have an estimate of what those numbers would look like if you were to expand to use the full 13,000 square feet of facility?
That's a great question. The need for mental health services is that, we don't have capacity within the current healthcare industry and system to treat those individuals. I would envision that on a daily basis, the mental health programming may be 30 to 40 additional individuals. And that would be at a high capacity, fully functioning outpatient mental health program.
So I guess other questions that I have are related to some of the comments that folks have expressed and just, someone who spoke, I shouldn't remember who quoted, the director of Homeless Travelers Aid Society, who had said the quote about from the day it opened, it was like night and day, it was like a bomb. And from what I have read in terms of a lot of the concerns about the current location at Central Avenue isn't so much concerns about the people receiving services so much as the other types of crowds that are attracted to the facility. So drug dealers who might be looking to take advantage of vulnerable populations. And so I'm curious about what security efforts, I know you say you have security staff, what security efforts have you made at Central Avenue, and what lessons have you learned that would allay the concerns of this community? Because I think, to your point, probably no one in this room is unaffected by this crisis. And I think everyone understands the severity and that we are well beyond our capacity to address this issue. And so the importance of having services, in my opinion, can't be overstated. But I also think, on the other hand, there are valid concerns about people who have made their livelihoods and their businesses, and how do they assure their clientele, their employees, that this isn't going to cause the disruptions then that has been reported to be caused on Central Avenue?
So I'll take that question. First, let me introduce myself. My name is Mickey Jimenez. I'm the Regional Executive Director with the program. And thank you for having us here today. That's an excellent question. At Camino Nuevo, we have invested in our security team. And it's not just Scott that's sitting back there. He's not a one-man show. Although the regulations doesn't require for us to have law enforcement to head up any security, we have made that investment. We have a retired 27 plus years detective from the city of Albany that's head up our security team, with an assistant manager who's also retired law enforcement from Bethlehem. So between those two law enforcement, they have a team of 5. And at Camino Nuevo, we'll continue to invest. The security and being good neighbors is one of our utmost commitment. We want to be good neighbors. The challenges that we've had since we opened up in a business district, in a building that we are not the only tenant, it's very hard to control what happens in and out on a daily basis. It's always had a history. Those of us that know Albany well know that even with Camino Nuevo and prior to the clinic being there, when CDPC was located there, the same type of issues and complaints were given. They moved out, but the issues in the community continue. So I think the mayor knows that there's bigger problems that we also have to work on. We also have an affiliate right across the street. We own that building, which is Capital District Latinos, where I physically sit. Our company is one that wants to give back to the community, and they bought that building so that we can help reinvest in a community to help build a community. And so the commitment we're making to our partners, especially in Pine Bush now, is to give us an opportunity to show that we are committed to that. From a safety perspective, we're heading up a team. We want to have our partners come to a table. Let's start talking. This is not going to happen probably for another 6-8 months, if that. But it's a good time for us to sit on, together and look at what are the fears, where can we bridge those gaps with misinformation. I can tell you that a lot of what is being seen and portrayed as part of the problem with the clinic is a lot of misinformation. Scott can attest to a lot of what we're seeing in the neighborhood, and it has nothing. We just had another shooting this weekend, and we always say, whenever we hear about another shooting or something happening in the vicinity, that's going to be pointed at the clinic. Our hours right now, we're open only on Saturdays, and by noon, everyone's out. And so I will say that the commitment is there not only for our staff, their safety, but also the safety of our neighbors. And anyone's welcome to talk to the neighbors that we have in the building. They've even made comments to Scott this week. We have HCDI, which does a lot of uninsured services for the folks in the community. And his biggest fear is what's going to happen now when we move out. because they know that the fear is more of what's happening in the community more than fearing what's coming into our clinic.
Yeah, do you have any information on the number of police calls or anything that would give us like a, more information on this, on how exactly things are, things work out? What the.
On an average, you mean pertaining to the clinic itself or in the neighborhood?
So, because you were saying that things are overblown and.
Yeah.
Or exaggerating it, so. It might be helpful to know, kind of what the distribution is between.
And I
things that you
can,
guys have.
Scott, if you're, could defer to Scott, but I will say this, that we've made calls to 911 that have had nothing to do with our clients. We've actually Narcan, several folks that have overdosed in the vicinity, and we also had Dr. Rosa who comes to our clinic, who's assisted with several incidents outside that we've been again responding to simply because someone says someone's overdosed or someone ends and of course 911 is going to be called. But pertaining to the clinic itself, on an average per month, I don't know, maybe 1 or 2 calls that have anything to do with the program itself. I would say that a lot of the calls I've made from external issues that have occurred in the neighborhood. I'm not saying that none of them have ever involved maybe a client or a dealer trying to attract, which is true, as some of them said, and we worry about that. We want those that come to a voluntary program like ours, no one's being mandated. So these are folks that are saying, I'm ready to for treatment, I'm done. And so we have a commitment to them to try to make it a safe space for them as well. One United Way will give us the opportunity on a padded area to have that control. We don't have that on Central Avenue. He's been cursed when he tells them to keep it moving. They say, who are you to tell me what to do? I can go in the building. We don't own the building. So those have been big issues and challenges for us being in that site. And we're the first ones to acknowledge that.
Any further questions? All right, well, thank you for coming out. Thank you for everybody that provided comment. Again, there's no action by the board tonight. We just wanted to hear this one for the first time and be on the lookout for this on future agendas. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's it. So our next piece is a zoning map amendment 0017 for 139 Large Street. It's presented by Brad Glass, our chief planning official of the city. Proposals to amend the zoning map to change the classification of 139 Large Street, totaling plus or minus 0.04 acres from residential townhouse to mixed use urban. And our action and consideration today is to recommend to the common council. So I'm assuming one of our more than capable staff is going to walk us through the story.
So currently, as you were to drive down here and turn right and go on Long Lark Street, you could see the building on your right hand side. It's a 3-story vacant townhouse. On the first floor, I think it was previously commercial use. The top 2 floors are residential. there's a big fire department white red X that's been there since at least 2017, if not earlier. As a vacant building registry since, again, at least 2017, if not earlier. So of the two uses between RT and the proposed change to MUCU, there are some more differences. There are 12 uses maintain the same level allowances, so they're both permitted or they're both, conditionally permitted. 15 uses vary on the degree of allowance, such, either they're conditionally permitted in RT or permitted in MUCU. And there are 16 uses that are permitted in the MUCU, which are not permitted in the RT. So obviously there's a little more allowances in the MUCU. A changing zoning district would obviously alter the dimensional standards as well as uses. The front side and rear required setbacks are similar in both districts, however, but the MUCU does allow a higher allowable building height. 3.5 stories in the RT compared to 5 stories in the MUCU. However, I would just say that the current proposal, as kind of laid out in the staff memo, that has come before the planning board previously from developer Pat Chu, is for 222 Spruce Street, directly abuts this property. Go to the next slide. You see 222 Spruce Street directly abuts that. He is proposing a residential development there. He recently purchased 139 from Albany County. So his proposal is to rehab the building as is. So as far as story concerns, his proposal is to keep the building as is. His proposal is to have commercial on the first floor and residential on the second and third, but would like to have 2 development units on each, or 2 dwelling units on each floor, which the RT does not permit. It's 1 unit per floor. So proposing the change of use, which is in keeping with surrounding MUCU, directly adjacent and directly behind. And it has, I think, it's been on the radar of Common Council already. It kind of jumped the loop a little bit because it wasn't brought by an applicant. So this is kind of formally submitting it for planning board review, questions and comment, and formally recommending it to Common Council if you so choose. I believe he said it.
What's the square footage for the floors?
Same question. I don't know. It's the whole parcel though.
I understand
the whole parcel. Yeah.
It's that it's the,
Like how big would the dwelling units be?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I wonder if Matt Geo would have anything like this.
because seeing this how they're just rehabbing the building and pretty much trying to keep essentially the same use, only cut them in half. That's really the only question about it.
Yeah, we don't have any kind of a submittal from the property owner, which is why obviously it's coming from our office. It wasn't submitted by the applicant as a rezoning request, so we don't have a floor plan. Don't have that information. I can try to find out.
Are we putting cart before the horse on this or what? I mean, if there's something that's gonna happen,
Well, I mean, he still wouldn't be able to have a dwelling unit that's under a certain size, like the allowance for size would still pertain, right? So I mean, that it wouldn't trump one or the other, like he wouldn't be able to have, was it the 750 square feet? 750 square feet. There's a certain allowed, required size for.
Zillow lists the total square footage of the unit as 3,718. So if it's the same, that would mean like each floor is scoped over 1,000.
Which.
And so the fire departments are around 500.
500.
And that's really the only,
And that's Zillow, so it could be inaccurate, but I was just trying to get like a sense, because
Right.
that was my thing too, is like looking at it, it was like, how big are those units gonna be?
right, and most of the other things that change with zoning are not relevant necessarily to the building because it's already there, right? Like, so it's really just that one issue. The size of it.
So in the MUCU, as it stands, the code doesn't speak to the size. While it, for example, MUNE and MUNC, you need one per 750 square feet or one per 600 square feet. But not for MU, but like you said, each floor is 3,000. There's also the
1,000.
1,000, I'm sorry. And then there is a requirement in the building code for a unit to be, I don't have that number, but we can look at that and provide that to you.
500 makes a fine studio.
But we haven't received any proposals for Patrick.
All right, is there a motion to advance the proposal as a recommendation to the common council?
So
I'll second. It's been moved and seconded to make a favorable recommendation to the common council for the zoning map amendment. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. We got it. Okay, all right. Wow. Yeah. Still took an hour, but
still considering
yeah, we everything one that United Way. Oh, yeah, motion to adjourn.
so
Second,
Seconded.
Without objection, the meeting is adjourned. Thank you. That's gonna be a very interesting thing going on there. It's always,
If you have any follow-up questions that you'd like information from that.
Yeah, I'm like, I was like, I could ask questions all day, but because it's such a, like, for me, that